Hello everyone, Fanta here, you're watching Fantavision, and today, unfortunately, we're discussing another company that is participating in this horrible business practice of crunch time. And I was talking to my buddy SBS about this, and it's sad that it's almost to be expected, because I was telling about this story, and I was like, it's Epic is doing this now, and he's like, well, isn't pretty much all are they all doing this now? Isn't this like every game company? And just because lots of companies are doing it does not make this the right thing to be doing. I mean, this is deeply affecting people's lives. And the thing is people will constantly have the argument that, oh, well, they're not forcing their workers to do this. Oh, Fanta, they're not. This is just a couple people. This is only a few people. It's only a little bit. It's only right before the game comes out. They want to do it. They don't mind doing it. They volunteer. No, that's not what it is. And some companies have come out saying, oh, it's not like we're putting a gun to their head. The thing is you basically are, because there's so many different things as when you're working for a company you're expected to do. And if you're in any salary position, I know lots of people that are in salary positions, and they're expected to work more than 40 hours. They're expected to work over 50. And that's just how it goes with salary. And the thing is with these gaming companies is they take it a step further. And they talk about in these articles where they're interviewing people from, of course, they have to be anonymous. And the reason they have to be anonymous is because they can't even speak their mind about this business practice that is killing them. 100-hour work week, that's insane. Don't try to one-up these people. It's not good if you're working near 100 hours a week. It's just not. It's not good for your health. It's not good for even your mental health. People are talking about how they're crying at their desk. People are quitting just because they can't deal with it. And a lot of people, I'm sure, in the comments that defend this shit, and they constantly shill and defend for corporate companies. I don't know why. They're not paying you, and they don't care about you. They're just going to say, well, that's their choice. Their choice is to not work at that company. But the thing is, like my friend SBS has said, this is something that's prevalent. This is happening throughout the games industry. If you try to find another job, you're going to be doing it again. And that's just sad. Even if there weren't other companies that were doing it, it's still very difficult to find another job. This is what their career is. Their career is in game development. So just asking somebody to switch careers is huge. They shouldn't have to worry about this sort of thing. Instead of telling people, hey, you should just either deal with it or move on, why not point the finger at the people that are making them miserable? If they can't get the job done with the 40 or 50 hours they normally work during the work week and not the weekend, which is, by the way, again, there have been reports of people not working during the weekends, and then a project did not get finished, and those people got canned because they did not work over the weekend. You should have at least a weekend, for the love of God. You need time off. You need to sleep a proper amount of time. You need to relax, unwind, de-stress. There's the human mind and body can only withstand so much. You need to relax. And it's just unacceptable for a fucking video game. It's for a video game, okay? That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about video game development. No video game is worth people losing their mind over, people crying at their desk, people just having to seek therapy. That's ridiculous to me. So even though Epic gives unlimited time off, they can't even take it. That's almost worse, It's like when you give somebody something, you take it away. It'd be better if you just didn't give them that in the first place. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world that they would do this sort of thing. And I don't get how it is normal. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the normal thing to do. And the thing is, is a lot of crunch time with these games. When it's in development, it's usually like near the end of the game development, so it's only a certain amount of time. But for Fortnite, because it's constantly in development, they're constantly making these things, and they have to come out right away. Like, sure, that's making the game popular. That's what's keeping its popularity. That's great. But if you can't get the job done with that amount of people in the proper time, not only is your scheduling wrong, just hire more people, for fuck's sake. How much money is Fortnite making?
A lot.
It's hundreds of millions, if not in the billions by now. So what is their excuse that they can't just hire more people? You know? Like, if you can't get the job done with that certain amount of people with 40 to 50 hours a week, and you're forcing people to work weekends, why are they not using that hundreds of millions to hire new people? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's nothing anybody can say about that makes sense. I mean, why would you be squeezing these people that are honestly, I mean, they're probably paid a tenth, not even, what the CEO makes. I mean, you look at what these CEOs are making these days. I mean, Strauss Zelnick is making over $300 million. Is
that the guy for Fortnite?
That's the guy from Activision.
Ah.
I mean, these people are making these obscene amounts of money, and people are constantly saying, "Oh, well, Fanta, I'm gonna defend this corporation because they're doing this because they need to save money." Like with the whole, "Oh, we're gonna put Borderlands 3 on the Epic Store," and it's like, "Oh, that's a good thing because that'll save the company money. They'll make a lot more money, and then they can give that to developers." They don't give a fuck about the developers. That's what I'm trying to say in all these different videos as these news stories keeps pouring out. These companies don't give a single shit about these developers. They're treating them like they're a commodity. They're treating them like a limited resource when all they have to do is hire new people. It's ridiculous. Have you heard of this crunch time thing? Have you heard about any of these? Did you remember the Rockstar thing? How that people were working 100 hours and all that sort of stuff, and how they were proud of it? Because we have this weird work ethic, and it's not as bad as other countries where it's almost a good thing to be a workaholic. I see this even in my company. I don't know if you see this in yours.
Oh, absolutely.
But you shouldn't be proud to be a holic of anything. If you're overdoing something, that's not good. If you're a workaholic, it means you're putting off other things in your life that you should be spending more time with instead of devoting your time to a company that really doesn't give a fuck about you. It doesn't matter what company you work for. Unless you own the fucking company or you're on the board, they don't give a shit about you. So you put in the enough effort, you care enough to keep it going, to keep it, you know, a high-functioning company that's profitable and all that sort of stuff. But you don't go to the extreme to the point that you're putting your health at risk, where you're not seeing your family anymore, where you don't have a social life, to the point where you're breaking down in tears, sleeping at your desk, all that bullshit, because you're really not being as productive as you would be if you were working less hours instead of being forced into working over the weekend, and you just burned out. I mean, you get burned out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've felt burned out before.
I'm burned out right now.
You're burned out. You're 12 hours outside. Can you imagine if you had to work 15 hours outside? And then the next day, and then the next day, and then you'd have a weekend, and you'd keep going and going and going and going and going to the point that you were working 70, 80, 90, even up. Can you imagine working 100 hours in a week?
Absolutely not.
I mean, that's insane. I can't even fathom how you would sleep working 100 hours.
I've done a 70-hour week once or twice.
What was that like?
I basically had no free time to myself. As soon as I got home, I was going to sleep.
These people are doing this for months.
Yeah. It was 2 weeks max total. And then I went back to a regular work week after that.
What's your regular 40 hours?
If that, yeah.
If that,
I do like between like 35 and like say 45 or something like that, just depending on the week.
But even then, even with working 40 to 45 hours, even a little bit less than 40, it's still very hard to find enough time for everything.
Oh yeah.
That you need to do in your personal life. I mean, I constantly neglect things into the last minute because I'm trying to balance my work life with my social life with, YouTube and all these different things on the side. So if you're trying to have a hobby, you literally can't have a hobby or anything outside of your work. If you're working for Epic Games, if you're working for Activision, if you're working for Rockstar, if you're working for any of these companies that have so far been caught with this whole crunch time thing, or I just don't understand why they feel the need to have it. And I don't know. It's just baffling to me. This kind of overworking culture that we have, and it's sad to see. I mean, even in Nintendo, like, they're not. It doesn't sound like they're forcing their developers to do this, but Sakurai was talking about how he had to be like on a fucking IV drip as he was working on Smash Bros. You're working on Smash Bros, man, for fuck's sake. I can wait a couple months. It's really not that big of a deal. All of these games, like CD Projekt Red's another example of a company. I love CD Projekt Red. Their games are phenomenal. They have the best consumer, the most consumer-friendly company out there. But they do work their workers to the bone, and that's so unfortunate. I mean, it's such a spotless company except for that thing, and it's like, it's just a game, guys. Just push it further. It's fine. I don't get why they feel the need to do this. Now, I understand it's been paying off for Fortnite. Fortnite is still the number 1 battle royale game. Apex Legends is kind of dying. It's kind of floundering.
Is it?
But I feel like even if they were working a normal work week, I feel like Apex could have a lot more in it. And I'll do a whole video about Apex and how it's kind of tanking at the moment because they just haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the crunch time's paying off. I get that there's constantly new updates. Whenever I log into the game, there's always something new, especially because I stopped playing the game for like 2 months. I came back in, like the whole UI looks different. They upgraded the animations. They've upgraded the graphics. They've upgraded the frame rate. I mean, it came out at 30 frames per second on the Xbox. Now it's a solid 60. I mean, it's great they're making these improvements, but if they slow it down just a little bit, I feel like they wouldn't have to have this horrible crunch time that is psychologically affecting their employees. I mean, I would much rather wait just a little bit longer for these people to not suffer. I feel like that's not that big of a deal, but just like, Jim Sterling's been saying it, I've been saying it now, these companies don't just want your money. They don't just want a lot of money. They want all of the money. And that's the problem. Just unsustainable growth in the games industry, and we're going to continue to see it spiral out of control until maybe the next time it crashes. I don't know. Do you see a video game crash coming anytime soon? I mean, I know it's super profitable. It's still the biggest form of entertainment out there, especially when it comes to profitability. But do you think it could come to a crash? Because I feel like there's a lot of games that I just don't buy anymore because I know they're going to drop in price.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that are the same way with me. And even then, sometimes I'll buy a game. Actually, a lot of times I'll buy a game on a discounted price and still never have time to open it or play it.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned it before, they want all of your time. They want
all your
everything.
time. Exactly.
So if you get into a game and you decide to play that one, what's going to make you play this game Y when you're playing game X? And the more common that becomes, games like Fortnite, games like Apex, they want you to keep playing it. Yeah.
Siege.
The more common those types of games are, the less common the new, unique, like single player, like you're supposed to play this for a little bit and that's it kind of games. Yep. They're gonna start trailing off.
There used to be just a couple of these games at a time, so it was kind of manageable. I remember when it used to be just like Call of Duty 4 and Halo 3.
Yeah.
And those were like the 2 games that we played all the time. And then there were plenty of other releases, but we had time to play those other releases.
Yeah, I jumped on Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah.
Played through the single player because back then we didn't even have the multiplayer Assassin's Creed.
Well, because it wasn't that great anyway. It was just a tacked on mode because they wanted to, again, sink in all the time. And the problem is with modern Assassin's Creed, it now wants all of your time again. Mm-hmm. It's this huge freaking game with a million quests, 1,000 different icons of useless quests on there that you don't really want to do, and a million collectibles you'll never pick up unless you're walking by them. I mean, they just want to consume all of your time all the time. Now, it's not as much in Assassin's Creed as, Apex or Fortnite, because they've got like those weeklies and stuff like that. I don't know, Apex, I don't even know, does it follow under that? Because the way they've made the game, it doesn't even try to take all your time. There's no reason to keep playing it. Whereas Fortnite and Division and Siege, and they've got constantly...
Even the new Spider-Man game a little bit. They add updates constantly to that game too. I
don't know if you'd call that a live service game because there's not a bunch of microtransactions in it.
Okay.
And they're not constantly, they don't really give you rewards for coming back repeatedly. They're just updating the game. They're just adding new content, which is great. Whereas Fortnite has, timed. You have to come back during this week and you have to complete these things during this week.
See, I've never actually played Fortnite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't have any experience in that.
It's like an MMO. That's what all these games have basically become.
Okay, so you get your daily login bonus kind of thing?
Exactly, that sort of thing. So you remember when MMOs were starting to be the thing? There was a million MMOs out there?
Yeah,
because they were all
the
trying
Old Republic
to be...
and...
Yeah, they were all trying to... Because that's the thing that happens in the games industry, is they have... This video is supposed to be a lot shorter. That's what happens in the games industry, is they find an idea, it works really well. Let's look at MMOs, for example. World of Warcraft. They saw, this is making a shit ton of money. How can we emulate that? So then Guild Wars came out. And then Matrix Online comes out. And then City of Heroes comes out.
DC Universe Online.
DC Universe Online.
Star Wars The Old Republic.
Star Wars The Old Republic. I mean, there's so many games that, I've forgotten so many.
Not even mentioning RuneScape and some of the other big
RuneScape...
ones. They've updated it since.
They have... But
they did big updates around the MMO surge, if I remember it correctly.
They've always been updating that game.
Okay.
But RuneScape, I guess, would be in there as well. I always think of it as just some anomaly. RuneScape has always been there in my mind. It's its own thing. RuneScape is RuneScape. It's just you don't have to buy a bunch of expansion packs for RuneScape. You pay the monthly thing, and they just add new stuff, and then you play it on your phone.
You look at your shelves of MMOs, and you got RuneScape in your hand, you're like, it doesn't fit anywhere. I'm going to put it on the RuneScape shelf.
It's RuneScape. RuneScape is its own beast. Love RuneScape. But yeah, it's everybody's following that trend. And if you've noticed, people don't make MMOs anymore. Because it wanted all of your time. It wanted all of your money. And people didn't have time for it.
The last one that tried it was Elder Scrolls Online, right?
And that's still going. That's a free-to-play game. But, I don't know anybody that plays it.
I don't know a single person that plays it either.
I know it's doing okay. I think it won some awards a couple years ago for being one of the best MMOs, but I bought the game for $3, and then I just I don't have time for this.
And look on the flip side, how many of your friends do you know that have or currently play Fortnite or Apex?
Lots. Yeah,
exactly.
But that's the current thing is these live service games. I feel like are going to go the way of the MMO. There'll be a few that survive, but the rest are going to be put aside because we don't have all the time.
They tried to do it with Anthem too, didn't they?
The Anthem was going to be a live service, and I'm going to make a whole video about how...
that
dumpster fire just keeps getting worse. It's incredible how bad that game is. Truly, it's its own anomaly.
It's a work of art.
It's a work of art how just awful that is. Just how much of a disaster that is. And it'll be fun to discuss.
Dissect it from top to bottom.
Because new stuff has come out about it. New debris has been added to the dumpster fire that is Anthem. They threw in a can
of lighter fluid.
Yeah, it's if that game wasn't already dead, this new information is just putting extra nails in the coffin that's already been made. So I'll make that video in the future. But thank you for watching, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, another live service game right here.
Is that really live service?
It's so hard to describe what a live service game. This is a game that they keep... It's supposed to not be... This is more of an early access disaster.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to call it...
They're adding things post-release to make it a full game.
That's because it's not a game.
Right.
Yeah. This is Sailing Simulator 2018. It was a great sailing simulator. It just gets boring really quickly because all you do is sail, and then there's skeletons, and then there's no progression system, and there's no story. But they're adding a story, I guess.
Yeah, and then a lot of streamers came up with games that you can play.
Yeah.
So like the community's coming up with ways
You have
to
to
play the
create
game.
your own fun.
Yeah, it's you get to have imagination. Do the thing with the rainbows effect on that, please.
I'm not going to be doing that. They can use their imagination. I'll pull a Sea of Thieves, and it'll be an incomplete thing.
The people who are at home can figure it out.
There you go. That's what Rare thought. You know what? We're gonna put an ocean, a bunch of boats, and some islands,
Some skeletons.
and then these
Some have swords.
these missions where you go get the thing and bring it back to this person. Oh, but they're different things. What a fun sailing simulator game. Anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Comment down below what you feel about this whole crunch thing. If this is just another reason to hate the Epic Store, another reason to hate Fortnite, and how can we as consumers influence these companies to say, hey, we're not going to support your shitty business practices and what you're doing to your workers? Because I'm kind of at a loss. I guess just don't buy those games. But there's so many games that do it. That's the difficult part.
So I watch another YouTube channel, if you don't mind me plugging it real quick.
Go for
it. Casually Explained talks about the different kinds of video game genres out there, and they get to the Battle Royale, and they say, well, these games don't make a lot of money from the general populace. Everyone, they do make most of their money from our friend Dave. So it's like,
true. That's true. It's exactly, because they have
a select small group of people that spend a shit ton of money on it, while the majority of people don't.
They actually,
those small groups of people do.
They
so
it's hard
for us to say, I'm not going to play your game because Dave over there is playing your game a lot.
Well, you just got to convince. They call them sea creatures. They classify all of the different gamers as different sea creatures. So like there's the minnows that play the game for free and don't pay anything. And then there's I'm trying to remember
Is this a real thing?
This is a real fucking thing. They have dehumanized the consumer to the point that we're now fucking fish. Then there's one thing where like, oh, you pay a couple things, but not really that much. And then there's the whales, obviously. The whales are Dave. So if you know a whale, try to convince the whale to not put so much money into these anti-employee companies. I don't know, because I usually say anti-consumer, but this is actually, anti-people in their own damn company. That's how little they give a shit about everybody. They only care about money. That's all there is to it. Stop defending them. For the love of God, stop defending companies. You may like their games, but they don't like you. Have a fantastic day.